Hello, you're with me, Rajinder Hans, on TVSarawak.com. These are the headlines for today. Chief Minister receives courtesy calls from 5 delegations. Penans need to work with the government in order to progress. And Sarawak recorded the highest foreign direct investment. Tan Sri Datuk Patinggi Haji Adnan bin Haji Satim received courtesy calls from 5 different delegations. Indeed, it was a busy day for him. Among the visitors were former Prime Minister Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi and his wife Tun Jean Abdullah. Present during this visit were Adnan's wife Datin Patinggi Datuk Jamilah Anu and Mukah Member of Parliament Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Leo Toyat. Also visiting the Chief Minister were Telekom Malaysia Berhad's delegation led by General Manager Sarbini Hamdan and the DG delegation led by Chief Executive Officer Lars Ark Nolling. Tan Sri Adnan also received a courtesy call from the Sarawak Cricket Association headed by its President Awang Mahyan Awang Muhammad. During the visit, Awang Mahyan presented Tan Sri Adnan with the 2014 Premier Malaysian Cricket League Championship trophy, which the Sarawak team won recently. There was also a delegation from the Japan Bank for International Cooperation led by Fumitaka Mashida. Deputy Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Alfred Jabu indicated that the Penans will be left behind if they continue to run away from the government and stick with the opposition. Previously, every time a minister or the people's elected reps visited their areas, the Penans would set up blockade to their settlements. However, many Penans have realised their mistake and were supporting the government. Deputy Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Alfred Jabu was speaking at the opening of a native court workshop for Penan community leaders in Miri. He added there was a program whereby the government gave each Penan family a plot of land to plant high-yielding rubber to improve their economic status. The government has also set up Penan community centres in 7 areas stretching from the Baram to Belaga where they could meet to exchange ideas for their common good. Tan Sri Jabu mentioned the government was proposing to set up native court for the community to address issues and dispute related to their culture and tradition. A total of 85 Penan community leaders attended the workshop, which also saw the attendance of Assistant Minister in Chief Minister Office Datuk John Siki Tayai, Senator Lihan Jok, Telang Usan Assemblyman Dennis Ngau and Datuk Hassan Sui. Sarawak recorded the highest foreign direct investment worth about 7.5 billion ringgit in the country for the first 5 months in 2014. Assistant Minister of Industrial Development Datuk Julaihi Narawi revealed that the bulk of the investment came from Japanese companies, which contributed about 5.1 billion ringgit. According to Datuk Julaihi, most of the investment were in Samalaju industrial area, adding that the huge investment clearly indicated that the state was still an attraction for investors, both FDI and domestic. Datuk Julaihi added that the FDI for the first 5 months of this year surpassed the total of FDI for the whole of last year, worth about 6.8 billion ringgit, adding that the state recorded a total of 8.3 billion ringgit in investment last year from FDI and domestic investment. He further pointed out that the state remains a good attraction for investors, thus encouraging more investors to come. Datuk Julaihi was receiving courtesy call from representatives of Japan Bank for International Cooperation, whose mission was to obtain latest information about investment opportunities in Sarawak. Moving on to the Malaysian news. Malaysia Airlines flight MH19 carrying the remains of 5 MH17 crash victims arrived here from Amsterdam Friday. The flight arrived at the Bunga Raya complex at the KL International Airport at 8:30 a.m. The victims, Matthew Ezekiel Sivananam, Liu Yao Chi and his wife, Lee Kia Yin, Meling Mula and Muhammad Afrus Tambi were accorded military honours. Of the 5 remains, 3 were in coffins, while the couple's ashes were brought in urns. According to Defence Minister Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein, ashes of Liu Yao Chi and Lee Kia Yin will be brought to the Sungai Besi Nirwana, while the remains of Matthew Ezekiel Sivananam would be brought to St. Fatima Church in Brickfields. The remains of Muhammad Afrus and Meling Mula will be flown back by 2 C-130 aircraft to Kuching and Bintulu. MH17 crashed while en route to Kuala Lumpur from Amsterdam on July 17, killing all 298 people on board, including 43 Malaysians. The aircraft was believed to have been shot down over Ukraine, some 50 kilometers from the Russian border. An association for taxi drivers may lodge formal complaints across the country against the Social Vehicle for Hire Service, Uber, and the lack of action by the Land Public Transport Commission to address the issue. Chairman Amran Jan said they were preparing to lodge standardized police reports possibly next week in various states. Amran said they had yet to see any action taken by the authorities in their crackdown on those involved with Uber, but pointed out that the service provider had little to lose even if action was taken. This is because Uber itself won't be affected because those who use it would have already paid using credit cards, and the ones who will be caught are the car owners. Uber is a company offering transport service through a smartphone app to customers. It was reported that private cars are being used to provide this service, which is cheaper, affecting the income of regular taxi drivers, Metered Taxi Drivers Task Force. Uber was founded in 2009 and offers services in more than 70 cities around the world. The Women, Family and Community Development Ministry will cooperate fully with the Swedish government to assist in returning custodial rights to the Malaysian couple who have completed their jail terms in Sweden for abusing their children. Its Minister Datuk Seri Rohani Abdul Karim said the Social Welfare Department had submitted 23 reports to the government of Sweden since Azizul Rahim Awaluddin and his wife Shalwati Norshal were detained on March 29 this year. Currently, the couple's 4 children are placed under the custody of their aunt in Kota Baru, Kelantan. The custodial rights would only be returned to the couple after their children turn 18 or much earlier, with the agreement of the Swedish government. According to the minister, the custodial rights would be returned to the parents if the Swedish government was satisfied with the monthly report sent by the department. Shalwati arrived at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Sepang yesterday after she was released from the Hinseberg prison in Frövi, Sweden on Monday. On March 28th, the Solna District Court in Stockholm, Sweden imposed a jail sentence of 14 months on Shalwati and 10 months on her husband for gross violation of their children's integrity and hitting them. The government could potentially save up to 10 billion ringgit next year if the current downtrend in global oil prices continues and the recent reduction in the fuel subsidy at local petrol pumps is maintained. Economists said the decline in the fuel subsidy coupled with the falling global oil prices would help the government achieve its target of trimming down its federal government budget deficit to 3% of gross domestic product next year. Based on estimates, the latest reduction of 20 cents per litre in the price of RON 95 and diesel could bring about savings of some 3.3 billion ringgit per year. As for the impact from the decline in global oil prices, last year's figures from the Treasury showed that the allocation for the fuel subsidy was 28.9 billion ringgit for 2013, based on an average oil price of USD $122 per barrel. If the current price of US $94 per barrel for Brent crude crude oil is used as a yardstick, then the subsidy bill should be reduced to about 22 billion ringgit, indicating potential savings of 7 billion ringgit. Since late last year, the government has said that it wanted to reduce the federal government deficit and has embarked on a fuel subsidy rationalisation program involving petrol, diesel and natural gas supplied to the electricity generation sector. On Wednesday, the government announced that it had reduced the current fuel subsidy by 20 cents, in keeping with its subsidy rationalisation plan. The new price took effect yesterday. Moving on to the global front. The higher toll which kicked in yesterday saw traffic volumes on Causeway remaining high during the morning peak period but easing slightly in the evening. Morning commuters said that even though charges are now 5 times more, they had little choice but to use this route to get to work or to school. The charges were raised by Singapore at midnight yesterday to Sing dollars 380, up from Sing dollars 120 for cars leaving the country. And while it was previously free to enter Singapore, it now cost 270 Sing dollars. Coupled with the increase in Malaysia's toll on August 1st, commuters using the Causeway will spend about 13 Sing dollars for a round trip between Singapore and Johor Bahru. Businesses in Johor also found that day trippers were put off by the higher rates. A popular Myanmar news website was blocked by hackers angry at its description of hardline Buddhist monks as radical. A message on the site said, accusing the publication of defending Muslims. The Irrawaddy saw its main English language website briefly replaced with a black screen and notice railing against a blog it ran in Burmese about Myanmar nationalist cleric Wiratu's weekend meeting with controversial Buddhist monks in Sri Lanka. The Buddhist majority countries have been rising religious hate speech and attacks on minority Muslims, with some hardline monks accused of fanning intolerance by stoking fears of threat from Islamic militants. The hackers claimed the Irrawaddy supports jihad and was attacking Buddhism and so-called freedom of speech. Their notice, which was later taken down, appeared to come down from Sri Lanka and demanded the publication apologize for referring to the country's hardline Bodu Balasena or Buddhist force as radical. The cyber attack is the latest in a string of hacks for the Irrawaddy, which operated for years during junta rule as an exile media group based in Thailand, but now also has an office in Myanmar's commercial centre Yangon. A new set of guidelines will restrict food and beverage companies from advertising unhealthy food to kids aged 12 and below. They have been drawn up by the Health Ministry, Health Promotion Board, Advertising Standards Authority of Singapore and representatives from the food and media industries. From next January, companies wanting to advertise food and drinks to children 12 and below must make sure the advertised products meet a minimum nutrition standard called the Common Nutrition Criteria. These HPB-endorsed standards limit the amount of unhealthy ingredients like sodium, saturated fat and sugar in a given serving of food. They also encourage healthy components such as fiber and whole grain in cereal-based products. Companies must complete a nutrition criteria compliance certificate before their ads can be run. The new guidelines will be incorporated into the Singapore Code of Advertising Practice and administered by the ASAS. Consumers can complain to the ASAS if they suspect foul play. It will also conduct spot checks to ensure adverts adhere to the guidelines. India's Prime Minister joined millions of school children, officials and ordinary people who picked up brooms and dustpans today in a countrywide campaign to clean parks, public buildings and streets. Prime Minister Narendra Modi swept the road in a poor neighbourhood in New Delhi while launching the Clean India campaign. Elsewhere in state capitals and small towns, lawmakers, school principals, factory workers and millions of common folk swept and cleared garbage and cleaned ditches and parks. Mr. Modi chose the birth anniversary of independence leader Mohandas K. Gandhi to launch the 5-year drive to clean public spaces in a bid to change India's image as one of the filthiest countries in the world. Mr. Modi, who has made cleanliness and hygiene a major plank of his speeches since taking office in May, led thousands of New Delhi residents on a walk through newly cleaned roads in the heart of the city. Although October 2nd is usually a public holiday, Modi ordered officials in India's massive bureaucracy and school children from all the city schools to turn up and take the pledge to clean their offices, school premises and streets. The impact was evident, with people across the country coming out in droves, armed with trash cans, rakes and brooms to take part. Cabinet ministers, police and industry leaders have been clearing files and getting rid of clutter in their offices. The campaign ties in with the government plan to build public toilets and end the practice of open defecation, a major challenge in a country where more than half of the country's 1.2 billion people do not have access to toilets. The plan is estimated to cost 620 billion rupees, with a major chunk of the funds coming from businesses and international aid agencies. Officials and school children today had to take a pledge to spend 100 hours a year cleaning their surroundings. That's all for today. I'm Reginda Hans, signing off for TVSarawak.com. We'll be back tomorrow with more news. To all the Muslims folks out there, have a great Eid al-Adha and have a great weekend.